For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's first PRP player run practice on Friday in July. It was a very short practice. They started earlier than we're used to, and they ended earlier than we're used to, but we actually got to talk to the players because it is July, and they said that was because they had an extensive team run, hard conditioning today, so we didn't get to see much from today's PRP, but what were you able to take away from it, Dan?
Well, I mean, I thought they didn't mess around. I mean, most of the coaches are on vacation, so in the team run, instead of breaking it up into position groups and doing kind of football-specific stuff and all that, they were basically, I think they just ran, and they ran, and they ran. So by 7:45, they're all kind of, lounging on the grass, ready to go, and they went right into PRP. So they didn't have to do any warm-ups. They didn't do any throwing or stretching or whatever. They just went right into 7-on-7, 11-on-11. I thought, and we're hearing this from the players, that one of the things you're noticing is they really do look like they know what they're doing. I mean, they look like you don't see, just busted coverages or people really out of place, or you don't see missed timing. We saw more runs today, for example. In 11-on-11, we saw them working harder on the run game. I think we saw Aca'Cedric Ware looks awfully good. He just looks so athletic. He's certainly worked on, as he was telling me, being more of a breakaway runner. He's been always that really dependable third down guy, and that short yardage guy, and that slasher that he was in high school. But he's really, it's obvious he's working at it, and he could be a real threat. Just watching him today, obviously, as Porter Gustin said, hey, it's not real football, it's PRPs. but they showed some good things, and all three quarterbacks were there, and they kind of were, in and out. JT, keeps hitting those short balls. I think, Matt hit some longer throws, did get a pick. Talanoa Hufanga keeps looking good at safety, got a pick. And Jack Sears has got such athleticism that he's looked more willing to, because they're getting a pretty good pass rush in the 11-on-11, and he looked willing to, pull that ball down and take off with it. So, I thought that, a very compressed day, but I thought they got a lot done, and I like the attitude.
Mm-hmm. We got a question earlier about the linebackers and how they've been doing this summer. Just because we don't mention a position group doesn't mean that they're doing horribly or anything like that. It's just kind of top of mind. And also the offense kind of tends to show out in PRPs because it naturally helps them. But what have you seen from the linebackers, specifically the freshmen?
They got a lot of guys that can run, a lot of athletes. You look at a group like that and you say, wow, the first thing that hits you is there are a lot of guys out there that can play on the cover teams. I mean, those linebackers are a lot of the guys you'd like to see, covering punts, covering kickoffs, and all that. So that's the first thing that you notice, and you notice you got guys that can run with the wide receivers and run with the tight ends. So that's the first thing. I think. I know they've really worked a lot. Cameron Smith has been kind of the mother hen player coach. Worked with with the freshmen, the incoming linebackers, and I know one of the things I'm trying to think which one of the upperclassmen said today was how good these guys are as far as assignments, and how serious they've been, and how few mistakes they seem to be making. These are the guys that are on the field. We're pretty far away to try to guess, in terms of mistakes or not, but the upperclassmen are impressed with how much the freshmen seem to be in the playbooks, and how much they seem to really be not making mistakes out there. So, if you got guys that are good athletes and they don't make mistakes, you got a heck of a start on getting them into the games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as we mentioned, we got to talk to the players today, and I think one of the themes was that they're pretty much impressed with the freshmen so far, especially amon-ra St. Brown, JT Daniels, Elijah Griffin. So they seem to say that the mentality of those freshmen are much more mature than what we've seen.
Yeah, I think, and Tyler Vaughn was talking about, he thinks they've done a much better job incorporating the freshmen into the program. He just said there's something about, he said I'd always heard about the Trojan family, but he said I'm not sure I saw that happen as well as I would have liked it to until this year. And he said especially, from I think the Ohio State game, crystallize some thoughts in people's minds about, okay, we aren't where we think we are, we aren't where we should be, and I think they've worked hard at it. It's the kind of thing that they do kind of quietly, and as Porter Gustin said, hey, till we play games, you're not going to know. We can talk about this stuff, and and Porter does more than talk about it. Like today, they finished practice I think at 8:23, and he was still. I guess he came through the gate at about 9:15. So he was out there. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm out there working on pass rush with the young guys. I want to show them some things." And he said, "I'm working on some stuff for myself too." But that's the kind of leadership. And when you talk to him about the lack of physicality, and he said, we had some younger guys. He said, I wasn't there. He said, I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think our younger guys have grown up. He said maybe there wasn't the commitment to physicality that there should have been, but he said I think it's there now. He said, but we'll know when we start playing games. But he said I think it's going to look different. I think practices are going to look different. Okay, that's music to my ears. I'm glad to hear that. But everybody you talk to says it. They all say, we're committed to being much more physical, much more competitive. And they really like the freshmen.
Yeah, but as far as physicality goes, we did hear something specific about the players going to Clay Helton about their weight training.
Yeah, they said they had a big meeting with the players and Clay, and then they also had a meeting. They have a leadership council of about 8, and they basically said, we need to get stronger. We need to have more say about what we're doing in terms of in terms of the weight program, in terms of the food. I know. Porter says, I've got a lot more guys coming to me and asking me, what should I do? What kind of food do I put in my body? How do I do this? And he said, that's a really good sign. I said, this team, you think this team's going to kind of reflect your approach to things? And he said, I think they will. He was pretty upbeat about the fact that, and maybe just having Porter around, and he wasn't around last year after that, those surgeries on his toe and on what he had, the shoulder injury, the bicep injury, and the toe, and that pretty much, he had to work on himself, and he wasn't able to maybe have as much influence on this team as he is now, and so they're very upbeat about what they didn't get done last year. I think Clayton Johnson said, we were 11-3. But we left a lot of stuff on the table. He said we didn't get done what we really should have gotten done. And you like to hear that kind of talk.
Yeah, well, like we said, it's only PRP, it's only summer, and Porter said it's all talk for now. But if you wanted something out of the offseason, I think you wanted, as a USC fan, that flip to switch for the guys to notice a mentality or a physicality change. And it sounds like from what we're hearing, that's what happened.
We've been saying it, we've been writing it, we've been talking about it, and they're talking about it. Yeah. And obviously, I think, they've come to those conclusions. They didn't need our help to tell them about that, but it's nice to see that, they're kind of talking the same way we're talking, and you got to like that.
Mm-hmm. You got to talk to multiple people today. Any other tidbits you want to share?
Talked to Aca'Cedric, and I just talked to him about now that he gets to be himself and he's not in Ronald Jones's shadow, and he's going to have his chance. And he talked about, I said, what was the one big difference? I said, you were the third down guy, you were the sure hands guy, the tough guy, the slasher. But Ronald, the dimension that Ronald, it was so important for Ronald was the breakaway ability. He said, I know. He said, I'm working on it. You could see today. He said, I'm really working on my feet. I'm working on my speed, that explosiveness. He said, I was that guy in high school, but I haven't been that guy since I got to USC. But just today, you noticed there a couple of times he just really got a burst, and he really took it, and he once did the 360 flip into the end zone. But for a 215-pound guy, he's got a lot of explosiveness, a lot of burst. And I know Ryan. Somebody asked Ryan, who's your breakout player? And I know when he said Aca'Cedric, people maybe said, I don't know about that. And Ryan asked me, he said, what do you think? I said, I think it's a good pick. I really like what I'm seeing from Aca'Cedric. And He's just got an attitude. He's a tough guy and an upbeat sort of a guy, and this is his chance. And I think if you get people who can, lead you that way, that are seniors, Porter and Aca'Cedric, and obviously Cameron Smith and Malik Dorton, Ajene Harris, I think has been a big leader. This team might really be a different sort of a team from last year. They think they are.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see, especially when it plays out in fall camp. And fall camp is just around the corner. We only have, we think, one more week of PRPs next week. There might be a week of PRPs on the week of the 25th, but that's also when Pac-12 Media Day is, so that's a little shaky. But what are you expecting for next week?
It'd be interesting to see. I don't know if the coaches will be back yet or not. I thought that I liked the approach of the play. I think it actually might be a good thing when the coaches go on vacation. This is their only time of the year in July, and the players realize, hey, it's on us. I mean, the strength and conditioning coaches come out and work with them on a team run, but I think they realize, this is up to us to make and a couple of them said that today. Said, you talk about the coaches and blah blah blah, but he said when it comes down to it, it's up to the players, and we've got to make the decision. We got to do the right things to get prepared for the season, and we think we have. And then we got to do it, when the season comes along. So it might not be a bad thing to have them be on their own these last couple of weeks where it really is. I mean, the coaches aren't even, in the state, probably not even in the country, some of them. And players understand, this is up to us. And that was one of the things I think we often talk about, the last era of great football at USC. But a lot of that was player driven, as much credit as Pete Carroll and his assistants, always got. I think the maturity of the players and the fact that, and that was what Pete wanted. I mean, he wanted the players to be the ones that are, they're the ones that have to do it. They're the ones that have to, make it happen. And I'm seeing more of that. I'm kind of, after, we haven't gotten to talk to him for a couple of months.
Yeah.
So getting to talk to him, I would get a pretty good feeling about what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for Friday's player run practice. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.